Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'll be sharing my thoughts on the latest episode of The Walking Dead, The Calm Before. Now there will be huge spoilers in this review for both the TV show and the comics, so if you do plan on watching this episode, then please watch this video after you've watched it. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Wow, that just really happened, didn't it? The piking, as I'm calling it, happened, and bloody hell did it deliver. But before I get to that, I want to quickly talk about how we got there in the first place. So, the fair, the grand fair that Ezekiel seems to have been talking about for the last 20 years finally happened, and it was a joyous occasion. That was until Alpha decided to turn up and ruin things. There was something undeniably heartwarming about seeing all the characters together in one location, because with everyone split up into different communities, it doesn't happen all that often anymore. However, as a comic book reader who knows what goes down at the fair, I was a bit nervous seeing everyone in the same location, because it meant that any of them could end up dead. I have to say I didn't find the actual fair itself all that interesting until Alpha arrived on the scene. At the start of this episode we are introduced to this annoyingly overly loved up couple who are apparently from the hilltop, even though we don't know who the hell they actually are, and they set out to join the fair only for the unlucky sods to run into Alpha. Alpha does what Alpha does best, and by that I mean she brutally kills them, with her then cutting off the lady's hair while singing her Lydia song, at which point I thought to myself, yeah, she's making a disguise to try and sneak into the kingdom. Oh shit, this ain't good. Seeing Samantha Morton skulking around Ezekiel's home had me on edge throughout. And even if you're not a comic book reader, I'm sure you were probably just as worried as I was that something bad was going to happen as a result of her being there. Comic readers will know that Ezekiel's head ends up on a pike on paper, and when Alpha came across a drawing of the King and Carol, with her then later getting into a conversation with Ezekiel himself, I was thinking that was going to be it for the theatrical leader. However, it turns out that Ezekiel lives to fight another day, with this being a nice bit of misdirection on the writer's part. Now, I always write notes when I watch The Walking Dead just because it helps me when I come to write the actual review. And to be honest, the majority of the notes I wrote when watching this episode related to me just trying my best to track where the characters were in anticipation for next week's finale. Any characters who weren't at the Kingdom were safe, whereas those who were, weren't. Some of you asked me in the comments over the last couple of days to do a Pike prediction video, which I did plan on doing later this week, because to be honest, I didn't expect it to happen in this episode. I was almost certain that The Walking Dead was going to stick to its usual method of saving its big character deaths for its end of season finale, so for it to happen now really caught me off guard. And with the episode being named as The Calm Before, I expected this to be the calm before Alpha came in and chopped everyone's heads off, and I thought we'd only get a little teaser as to the piking happening next week. So credit to The Walking Dead for genuinely surprising me and having the balls to have this happen in episode 15 rather than 16, when it probably would have got a ratings boost as extra people always tune in for the season finale. I mean, if Gimple was still in charge, we probably would have had the 10 Spike victims revealed one by one over 10 different flashback episodes.
Hey Joshy Josh, now you mention it, do you want me to go grab my 100-page script for an episode in which we learn how Earl and his wife met each other?
No, I really don't, Scott. This is why you're not the showrunner anymore.
I am the showrunner, goddammit. I am.
Okay, Scott, if you say so.
Oh, excuse me one moment. I just have to go to talk to Robert Kirkman on the telephone, because I'm a showrunner, and that's what we do. Hello? Hey, Robbie, old buddy, old pal. How's it going? Why, certainly. I think a spin-off show centered on Morales would be a great idea. Oh my god, why didn't I think of that? Having the governor come back to life in a new series. Absolutely superb. Hey, wait a minute, why don't we go talk some more in my office? Right, here we go. Oh, aliens in the show, that sounds like another great idea.
Thank God he's gone. I absolutely love the build up to this week's final reveal. Alpha showing Daryl her massive herd of walkers before telling him about the border markers was her way of saying to him, you're not going to like what I've done, but you're not going to do anything about it, because if you do, you'll be dead. The characters then go on this slow walk up a hill with the heads on spikes shown in the distance. And it's at this point that everyone starts praying that their favourite characters haven't been chosen to have the honour of being a boundary marker. The Walking Dead soundtrack isn't something that I've personally paid that much attention to in the past, but it's been fantastic throughout the majority of this season, with this episode being no different. And the somber music that played during the scene really filled me with a sense of dread. As each victim's zombified heads comes into view one by one, we cut back to scenes at the Kingdom in which we see their loved ones trying to find them at the fair, which only helps heighten our despair. Heighten our despair at the fair. I don't care if your head is on a spike. today. For example, I don't particularly give a shit about Earl's wife Tammy, and I never really have, but there's something really sad about seeing her husband wondering where she's gone off to when in reality Alpha has taken her. I mean, poor old Earl probably thinks she's off enjoying one of the stalls at the fair somewhere. I don't know, maybe she's shopping around for some new clothes, but the reality is much more sinister. Seeing the characters' friends and families unaware of what's going on just makes it all the more depressing. The last 3 heads to be displayed are those of 3 pretty big Walking Dead characters. We first jump to a scene of Alden and Luke's 2-man band on stage at the festival, at which point I was thinking, oh shit, there goes Enid. Again, just like Earl's wife, I've never been a huge fan of Enid. I mean, who is, apart from Enid? But seeing poor Alden looking amongst the crowd expecting to find his girlfriend there with him wondering why she hadn't showed made her death devastating. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about the fact that we as viewers know what happened to the characters' loved ones before they did that made my heart completely sink. And God, how I wish Kang had been showrunner when Negan Lucilled Glenn and Abe. Next up, we see Gabe and Eugene together, with Gabe asking Eugene to let him know when he sees her, as he needs to talk to her. Now, we know that Rosita has a relationship with both of these characters, and she also dies via the Whisperer's Pike in the comics, so my immediate reaction was that she was gonna be the one next to die, and I'm sure many of you probably thought the same, but nope, it ended up being Tara. Again, Tara is another character who I never particularly cared for, but this doesn't mean her death didn't affect me because, well, it did. I think her character has been much improved this season, and I feel as though she stepped up as the leader of the Hilltop in Maggie's absence. So yeah, I was sad to see her go, which isn't something I thought I would ever say prior to this season. I think another reason why all these deaths worked for me is because none of these characters deserved to die in the manner that they did. If they had all died last season whilst, let's say, fighting the Saviours in battle, I don't think it would have anywhere as near the same effect, because we all know the risks that come with fighting in a war. However, people aren't supposed to die at a community gathering, and it makes what Alpha did all the more unjust. The last head to be revealed is none other than poor old Henry. I spoke about how I thought that the king might die earlier as he dies in the comics, and there is a lot of foreshadowing featured throughout this episode, but The Walking Dead decided to go a different route and kill his son instead. The reveal was once again preceded by another heartbreaking moment at the Kingdom, with Lydia finding Ezekiel behind the back of the movie screen. Ezekiel is as happy as he can be with how the fair's going. That is until Lydia finds him and tells him that her mum was at the fair and that she can't find Henry. All of a sudden you see Ezekiel's face just completely drop, and that's when we all know that Henry is next. I know a lot of people dislike Henry and are actively celebrating the fact that he died, and before this season I would have probably been the same. However, I've been quite fond of him this year and I've defended him many times during my reviews. To me it was sad losing a character that I liked, but what really broke me was seeing Carol's reaction. It's fair to say that maybe Carol should just stay away from kids. I mean, Sophia died, Lizzie and Mika died with her having to kill the former, Sam died, who granted she was a bit mean to, but deep down I think she cared for him, and now Henry's dead. It took a hell of a lot for Carol to find it in herself to be able to care for another child, and yet again she ends up having to bury them. Although I suppose as she only has to bury Henry's head, it won't actually be that difficult to do, not like burying a whole body. Just put his head in a shoebox and chuck it down a hole. Job done. What? Too soon? Although I'm glad that Ezekiel's head didn't end up on a pike, as he's become one of my favourite characters this season, I actually think his death would have been a bit easier to get over for me than Henry's. Instead of a man dying, what we had was a kid die killed by the mother of the girl he loved, and that's just bloody brutal. It just goes to show what an evil woman Alpha really is. Earlier on in the episode, she told Lydia she only did what she had to in order to make her strong, and although she is a horrible, abusive mother, I got a sense that maybe somewhere deep down in her own weird, massively flawed way, she still cared about her. But then she goes and kills Henry, knowing full well how much that would hurt her daughter, which shows she just doesn't care for her at all, because who the hell does this to their children? Part of me does wonder that if Lydia had just gone home with her as she asked, maybe no one would have died. Maybe she just killed everyone out of pure spite just because she couldn't get her own way, with her wanting to punish Lydia for turning her back on the Whisperers and choosing to live at Alexandria. After the piking is over, Sadiq addresses everyone in a speech which, to add further insult to injury, details how the Highwaymen arrived to try and help the group fight back against their captures. Captures or captures? Is that right? I don't fucking know. Anyway, now how many times have we seen on this show, or in fact any show, characters arrive at just a nick in time to save the day? I'm sure in a parallel universe somewhere the Highwaymen end up rescuing everyone and riding off in the sunset, however this time around it wasn't to be. We're so used to seeing our characters come out victorious when the odds are against them and being able to triumph in a situation like this. So hearing Sadiq detail how everyone tried to work together and survive but failed makes their deaths even sadder. Comparisons are always going to be made to the Red Wedding, and although The Walking Dead didn't kill off any A-tier characters like Game of Thrones did, I mean we didn't see Daryl or Carol die for example, I think this is going to be the moment which fans of The Walking Dead talk about with the same enthusiasm of Game of Thrones fans who talk about the Red Wedding for years to come. Quite simply, Kang has done an amazing job of translating this iconic comic book moment to the TV show. I remember my shock at seeing it in the comics, and it was the same for me during The Storm Before. And personally, I like that the characters who died were changed up from the source material, as it still managed to remain a surprise to me, and like I said a moment ago, I think seeing Henry die is actually more depressing than Ezekiel or Rosita, even if you were never particularly fond of the boy. I didn't go into making this review with the sole intention of just talking about the ending and nothing else, and there are lots of other moments from this installment that I liked a lot, such as Eugene's RPG joke with Rosita that made me laugh out loud. And I also liked when Lydia saw how Ezekiel and Carol reacted to Henry returning, with it clear that in that moment she wished she had a parent who loved her like they did. But I don't know, it just kind of feels a bit insignificant now, going through every kind of detail that I liked and disliked, which is how I normally do reviews, given the ending the episode had. So apologies if you wanted to hear more about the rest of the episode, but I don't really have a lot else to say because all I can think about is the ending. Like I said earlier, I did find the first 10 to 20 minutes to be a bit slow, but to be honest, I kind of had it in my head that this episode was going to be filler with all the deaths coming next week. So maybe I just approached it with a bit of a negative mindset at the beginning. All I can say though is that it paid off brilliantly, and I've gone back and watched the Pike reveal a number of times now, and I think I'm going to have to rewatch this episode as soon as I can. I love the Whisperer arc in the comic, and Angela Kang has done justice to one of the arc's most shocking moments, and has also done an outstanding job with the Whisperer so far. So what can I say really? I mean, yeah, this episode was a bit slow in the beginning, but I wouldn't say that I was ever bored, and I think this episode will quickly go into most people's favourite ever Walking Dead episodes, and quite rightly so. So overall, a fantastic installment, and I can't wait to see how the characters react in the season finale. And we finally got snow in The Walking Dead next week. Finally! After 9 years it snows! But anyway, as always, please let me know your thoughts below. Did you like this episode? Did you absolutely hate it? It would be interesting to see if anyone really disliked it. I don't know, maybe your favourite character was killed, maybe you thought the people who died weren't big enough or, you know, important enough, so you didn't really care. But yeah, just let me know. Let me know your thoughts below. And yeah, actually, hang on, this is my 200th video as well. A bit kind of fitting that it would be on such an episode, but 200 videos on The Walking Dead, and yet I still find stuff to make somehow, and people still want to watch me. I don't know why, but thank you all for supporting me still, for some reason. I don't know why, but it's nice that you all support me. But anyway, I'll stop babbling on. But yeah, actually, so I won't be making the Pike reveal video, obviously, so that's one less video to do. So next up is the game, then we'll see the finale next week, and we'll see if there's anything I want to do in between. Still need to catch up with Games of Thrones. I'm halfway through season 5, going to blast through that, and we'll start reviewing that when the finale, or the final season even comes out. But yeah, I'll stop talking now. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.